Who dat to the Who Dat Nation. Welcome to the Dome Patrol podcast, your podcast for the New Orleans Saints here on the KB Radio Network. And we're going to dive into the New Orleans Saints' first preseason game of the year, which took place in the Caesars Superdome Sunday at 12 noon when the New Orleans Saints defeated the reigning Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs by the score of 26-24. Now, this is a preseason game. Wins and losses don't matter. It really doesn't. To be honest with you, I didn't care if the Saints won this game or not, but it felt good to see them win. Let's be real. I was happy to see them get the victory with that last second field goal. But overall, we want to go into this game and look at certain positions, certain players. How are they faring out? How are they going to look on the field these upcoming Sundays of the NFL season? And, you know, do we have to make moves elsewhere in different arenas? Certain guys, maybe they're not cutting the mustard. But this was more of an evaluation, which is all preseason is about, all three games. And this was our first look at this. Is it new and improved? I don't know, but it's new. It's definitely new. We have a new quarterback with Derek Carr. We have new pieces on defense. It's kind of a new scheme in a sense, but let's not get over our heads. Now, it's hard. It's hard, especially for me, to get, to temper expectations. But I'm so excited for the Saints. I'm so happy to see them back on the field playing some actual football that kind of matters, even though this doesn't count. And so it's hard not to get super excited, by some of the things that we've seen. And we're going to go over some of those things and break down some stats and talk about some players who shined in this game. The New Orleans Saints did more than just rally for a 26-24 preseason victory against the Kansas City Chiefs. Their frontline units accomplished much of what we wanted to achieve in limited action. The first team offense under new quarterback Derek Carr was very sharp in his one and only drive, where he marched 80 yards on 12 plays and scored on a 4-yard touchdown pass to Keith Kirkwood. Derek Carr was 6 of 8 for 70 yards and a touchdown in that first game as a New Orleans Saint. Star running back Alvin Kamara, he looked fluid and powerful in the 5 carries that he had in that opening drive. Even Michael Thomas, he only had 1 catch for 16 yards, but he was only in for 1 drive. The first team defense shut down the high-powered Kansas City offense and star quarterback Patrick Mahomes, including stuffing a 4th-and-1 attempt at midfield, which was pretty gangster. Safeties Hugo Amari and defensive end Kyle Phillips had interceptions. The Saints had just 7 all of last season. There was only 1 major injury. I hope it's not major coming out of this game, and that was our rookie running back Kendrick Miller, who left the game in the third quarter with a knee sprain. They're going to do, I just read before I started recording, that they are going to do an MRI on that knee. That's the same knee that's been troubling him from the beginning of camp. So let's send some prayers up for Kendrick Miller. Hopefully it's not serious. Coach Dennis Allen said in the press conference following the game, it's good to get a win. I thought our first units, both offensively and defensively, came out strong. The Phillips interception with 58 seconds to play set up a 4-play game-winning drive for the Saints, which was capped by a 31-yard field goal by rookie kicker Blake Grope as time expired. Backup quarterback Jameis Winston, he had a nice go at it. Jameis Winston looked pretty decent today, going 11 for 13 for 92 yards and a 29-yard touchdown pass to receiver A.T. Perry. The rookie from Wake Forest had a big game, and he needed this game because all of the reports coming out of camp that A.T. Perry, he had the dropsies. He had the butterfingers in camp. He had 6 targets today, and he caught 6 balls for 70 yards and a touchdown. The Saints will have Monday off before returning to practice on Tuesday. The team travels to California on Wednesday and will have a joint practice with the LA Chargers on Thursday and Friday. The team will meet at 6:05 p.m. Sunday for their second preseason game this season. Who didn't play this preseason game, opening preseason game? We had a few players who didn't dress. Of course, linebacker Demario Davis dealing with that calf. Wide receiver Rashid Shaheed, he has a groin injury that he's nursing. Wide receiver Traquan Smith also has a groin injury. Running back Kurt Merritt with a hamstring. Left guard Andrews Pete with a quad. Offensive lineman London Young with a knee. Tight end Lucas Krull with a tailbone injury, and tight end Jesse James also with a groin injury. I must say that I am deeply encouraged by what I saw today. I'm super excited by what I saw. One of the main things I wanted to look at going into this game, of course, we had some position battles, but of course, the whole Who Dat Nation, everybody, all eyes were on number 4. We wanted to see how Derek Carr was going to fit into this offense. Is it going to be slow going, learning this offense? How long is it going to take him to acclimate to this offense? But he looked good. Now, no, it was just one drive. I understand it was just 12 plays, but we can't deny the fact that he looked crisp. He looked comfortable. He looked like he's been in his offense for years. You know, he was going through his progressions. From what I noticed, he'll go down to his 4th read before he'll make a decision. He didn't rush any throws. The offensive line, for the most part, held up, gave him protection, gave him time in the pocket, which is also encouraging because we had pieces missing off of that offensive line. You know, Andrews Pete didn't play. London Young didn't play. So it's good to see that offensive line hold up for the most part. Jameis Winston looked good. Jameis Winston, he looked like he could be a starter. If it was anybody else, this would be a quarterback competition. Just going by this game here, I'm looking at both of them, and they both pretty much had equal stats to one another. They being Jameis Winston and Derek Carr. I mean, they both look crisp. They both look comfortable. Jameis Winston looks healthy. You know, it's nothing. That's not bad. That's not a bad thing. You know, in the event, fingers crossed, anything ever happened to Derek Carr, I feel comfortable with Jameis Winston coming off the bench. With that being said, our rookie, Jack Hader, he looked good. He looked good. Yeah, he did throw an interception, but I don't think that was his fault. I was at the game. So I'm looking at it from the field perspective. He was expecting the receiver to cut out, and he was going to do that back shoulder fade, and it was a miscommunication there, which is understandable. It's the first preseason game, and this is a 3rd string quarterback, you know. So, but he was making some good throws out there. He really was, and I was really impressed by him. Really, really impressed, because when he trotted out on the field, I was kind of like, why don't they put Taysom Hill in there? Let him get some reps there. But I understood it once he got out there. Jack Hader looked really good. You know, another couple of years, hey, maybe the heir apparent. I don't know. Once again, we're going off of one game. You know, I don't want to get too excited. But if I had to push my chips in the middle of the table going off of this game, I can't help but be encouraged. Defensively, that defensive line looks good. Talking about the starters here. The defensive line looks really, really good. They was getting pressure. That 4th and 1 stop was just outstanding. Pete Warner, he bust through that line like a man possessed. He blew that play all the way up. Our battle in the secondary between Paulson Adebo and Alante Taylor, I liked Alante Taylor. Yeah, he did get burnt on that touchdown. He got smoked. I can't even front on that. But he recovered from that. He defended some passes. He broke up a pass or two. He was with his receiver for the most part. If you can't tell, I'm a big Alante Taylor fan. That being said, I'm also a big Adebo fan. They both look good. Now if I had to compare both of their performances today, I probably would swing to Adebo, but it's not a fair assessment because um, the starters, as far as the secondary is concerned, really didn't get much to look at because that defensive line was getting so much pressure and it was a non-factor going down the field for Patrick Mahomes. So I it's hard to assess it, but Adebo did win the day. Let's go through the stats and we're gonna get out of here. This was just a quick game. We really don't have much to talk about other than the fact that this was a preseason game. I just wanted to go through some of the stats and let y'all know that I am encouraged, and I hope that everybody else is encouraged by this performance on this Sunday in the Dome. So let's go through these numbers. I'm just gonna do the New Orleans Saints stats. I'm not gonna too much worry about the Kansas City Chiefs. For the Saints, starting with passing, the Saints' leading passer today was Jake Hader. He had the most time. I think he played the whole second half, I believe. He was 10 for 17, 105 yards of passing, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception. Jameis Winston, 11 for 13, 92 yards and a touchdown. Derek Carr, 6 for 8, 70 yards and a touchdown. Moving over to our rushing yards, our leading rusher today was Jamal Williams. He had 9 carries for 28 yards. His longest run was 8. Merriweather had 9 carries for 24 yards. His longest run was 5 yards. Alvin Kamara, he had 3 carries for 14 yards. His longest was 12. Jameis Winston carried the ball twice for 14 yards. Both of which was 7 yards, making his 7 yards per carry average, which is pretty crazy. Jack Hader, 1 carry for 8 yards, and Kendrick Miller had 4 carries for 5 yards. Leading receiver today was A.T. Perry. A.T. Perry went. He put the team or the league on notice. I don't know, but he had one heck of a game. He had 6 catches for 70 yards and a touchdown. His longest reception was 29 yards. Edwards had 3 catches for 37 yards. His longest catch was for 19 yards. Baker had 2 catches for 30 yards. His longest was 24. Juwan Johnson had 2 catches for 29 yards. His longest was 18. Alvin Kamara had 2 catches for 21 yards. His longest was 17. Davis had 2 catches for 20 yards. His longest was 18. Merriweather had 2 catches for 17 yards. His longest was 15 and a touchdown. Michael Thomas had 1 catch for 16 yards. Jimmy Graham had 1 catch for 10 yards. Kirkland had 1 catch for 5 yards. Kurt Wood had 1 catch for 4 yards and a touchdown. Bolden, had 1 catch for 3 yards. Taysom Hill had 1 catch for 2 yards, and Kendrick Miller had 1 catch for 1 yard. Our team stats today, let's start with first downs. Saints had 21 first downs today, 15 by passing, 4 by rushing, 2 by penalty. The Kansas City Chiefs had 17 first down, 14 by passing, 2 by rushing, and 1 by penalty. Third down efficiency, Saints were 7 of 16. Kansas City was 5 for 13 on fourth down. The only team that went for it once on fourth down was the Chiefs. They were 0 for 1. Total plays, Saints had 69 total plays to Kansas City's 59. Total yardage, Saints 360, Kansas City 364. total drives, it was dead even. Both teams had 13 drives. Yards per play, Saints were 5.2 yards per play to the Chiefs 6.2 yards per play. Passing, Saints 239 yards passing to the Chiefs 263. Rushing, Saints 93 yards rushing, Kansas City 83 yards rushing. In the red zone, Saints were 2 of 4, Chiefs were 3 of 4. Penalties, which was pretty bad. Penalties, I guess in the words of Dennis Allen, cleanup. They were 9. They had 9 penalties for 79 yards total. Chiefs had 7 penalties for 61 yards total. Turnovers, Saints won the turnover battle. They only turned it over once. Kansas City turned it over twice. And time of possession, Saints 33 minutes and 14 seconds to the Chiefs 26 minutes and 46 seconds. It was sloppy at times, especially with those penalties came into play, but it was relatively clean considering this was the first preseason game. Normally you'll get double-digit penalties, going into your first preseason game. But they look good, as I said before. There's a lot to take away from this. A lot more that we have to mull over, that I plan to mull over this upcoming week. But I wanted to give an out of the game reaction to the Saints coming from behind to defeat the Kansas City Chiefs by the score of 26-24. How do you feel? Are you encouraged by this game? Do you feel that, okay, we're going to the Super Bowl? If you are feeling that way, let me be the first to tell you, calm down, relax. Let's just take this step by step, week by week, game by game. Let's not blow our load right now. I do feel confident. I do feel good, but I'm not going to just crown this just yet. But I want to know, how do you feel? How did you feel about Derek Carr? Are you encouraged by that? Do you feel like he's the right choice? Did the Saints make the right decision here? Let me know. Email the show, kbradiopodcast@gmail.com. You can also look me up on all social media platforms. Just look up the KB Radio Network, as well as YouTube. Look up the KB Radio Network channel, and you can subscribe to this channel and give this video a like if you don't mind. Don't forget about the 5 stars, the reviews, and sharing this show if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or wherever you are currently listening to the Dome Patrol podcast, your podcast for the New Orleans Saints here on the KB Radio Network. Everybody, thank you for joining me for this recap of the first preseason game of the year. Oh, did it feel good to watch some football from our Saints? It felt great. It felt great. I feel whole again. Oh, yes. Football is back, and I can finally sleep soundly at night. But be on the lookout for our preview of week 2 when the Saints travel to Los Angeles to take on the Chargers. Can't wait to speak to you then. Until then, you can find me by hearing me scream, "Who dat?"